Right. Lucky now for.
Yeah.
I've got a million questions right after.
Okay, mate. Nice. No problem.
You only get 3. How you can start off when everyone's ready, mate.
Just so Simon, lucky today, but not the result. But in terms of performance for the year, how pleased can you be with that?
Yeah, look, really disappointed that we didn't manage to get the point, because I thought, looking at the context of everything, we deserved it. I'm going to say that because of the effort and the commitment that went into it again. But yeah, there's loads to be encouraged about. I think, really pleased for Roscoe to get that goal. Really pleased with Jay Robinson's full debut. And we're close to getting what's a really, really good point. And in the end, we didn't. But yeah, I think there's lots to like about today.
I think that team sheet dropped, so it's quarter to 2. You look at it, and that's a lot of changes to make. A lot of players who've not been available. What was your sort of thinking when you put this team together?
Well, I think the credit to the players there, because actually you just reminded me of that. And as the game went on, I forgot that. Really, that we were missing so many players. There's probably 4 or 5 from what could arguably go into the back line or the starting 11 who are unavailable for various reasons. So I think, I thought, Charlie Taylor was exceptional for today. Really nice for him because he's endured a tough year. And yeah, I think credit to the players that they pulled together. We spoke about the importance of, making sure that we stay tight, we stick together, we have a spirit and unity about us, and we travel through the next 90 plus minutes as a whole group and finish the season with as much pride and dignity as we can. And I think the guys that stepped in today can really look in the mirror tonight and be proud of themselves.
Just on Charlie Taylor, how does one go from not being involved in the squad all year to putting their performance like that overnight?
Yeah. Sometimes it just happens, doesn't it, that people fall out of favour, get injuries at the wrong time, other players step in, changing managers probably doesn't help. I'm the 3rd one this year, and sometimes time runs out. I think a couple of lads in my 7 games maybe not helpful that we go. It's like a perfect storm of a big squad. Saturday with no midweek games to mix it up. Up until this week, very few injuries. So someone like Charlie, who's not been in the mix all year, can maybe become a victim of them circumstances. But yeah, really pleased for him today.
You mentioned Ross Stewart's obviously first goal. I'm just curious as to what you and his teammates really said to him just
I've not spoke to him yet, if I'm honest. I addressed the whole group, but when I have a moment with him, I will be sharing how delighted I was for him. Nice for him to score a goal, have a moment with the supporters, which I'm sure will mean a lot to him based on the couple of seasons that he's suffered.
If you were managing the Championship team, how much would you like to have a striker like Ross?
Yeah, for sure. I think for him now, hopefully that's a platform that can build his confidence with his physicality and find a nice rhythm to his work. And I think there's no doubt about it, if he can get that, then he'll be effective at that level.
And Joe Robinson, just a word on him, he's actually going to play at all times. Can he play next year for his team?
I don't see any reason why not. Nice to see young players, particularly with the history of the club, step in. And I think the game at Goodison and the game today, he looked every bit a Premier League player. So good for him.
The new manager is obviously here today. Just curious what your thoughts are on that appointment.
Yeah, look, first of all, congratulations to Will on the appointment. I think I'm sure he's had to work very hard to get a job at a prestigious club such as Southampton, and I've not had a chance to speak to Will yet, but I think it's good now that there's a bit of clarity for everyone.
Does your role involve having a chat with him, telling him what you think, or some kind of handover information document?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I'm completely uncertain about what the next steps are. So, my focus has been on supporting the players and the club through what's been fairly unique circumstances. I think, with 7 weeks to go, relegated in the Premier League, with a club that, with a side that haven't won many games and a points record to remove, I think an experienced manager would have found that challenging. So my focus was on supporting the players and driving the club forward, and I've said all along that comes first, and now this bit's done, and them objectives to a large extent have been achieved. I'm sure I'll get some direction on what's next.
What do you think Will have learned from watching that team today?
Well, everyone views football differently. You know, and I would like to think that he saw a team that, in spite of difficult circumstances, were committed, were running for each other, wanted to have an element of dignity and pride to how they finished the season, and I think hopefully that will be encouraging for him.
I know you haven't answered yet, but I'm going to ask you again. What did you want to do now? Would you like to stay at the club, or do you want to go and manage maybe in a football league club?
Yeah, I answered the question the other week, didn't I? That, you know, I think I'm really open-minded about what's next. You know, I've been a first-team coach, I've been a 23s manager, I've been a head coach in my own right, and I'm still fairly young, I think. So I think there's room for me to be open-minded about what the next steps are for me.
Okay, can I ask about 3 players as well? Because obviously Jack Stevens wasn't involved today.
Yeah.
Fracture wrist. How bad is that? Sort of, what was it?
Yeah, it's been a remarkable week in many respects. You know, obviously Jan Bednarak still struggling with his knee. Taylor, you know, gets a very significant enough injury last week. Then Jack, you know, in innocuous fashion, fractures his wrist in training. We've got Bella Kocha, who's ill. You know, we've got Tyler Diblin at times. So it sort of came out of nowhere really into a bit of an injury crisis. So hopefully they can recover fairly swiftly over the summer period. But yeah, not too sure about the overall prognosis on them injuries.
Do you know any more about Taylor Holt? Obviously, will he definitely be out for the England tournament in a couple of weeks' time?
That's my assumption, yeah.
Just on Gavin Zoom as well, he's not involved in the squad, but is he sort of fit and ready to try?
Yeah, I think he's making really good progress. I think the idea is that he can take part in pre-season, so hopefully for him that's the case. Cheers.
I remember speaking to you after the West Ham game about fans, and you were saying that you felt that they were being so positive because they could see the effort.
Yeah.
For me today, it's the first time I've seen a team relegated, losing final game of the season, and yet the fans didn't have some good weeks to play. Again, a testament to the players and the effort they play.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, look, the supporters have been great. Not easy, and I think, you know, but I also think, yeah, it's credit to us as a whole club and a whole group that we've stuck together. You know, and there's with these 7 games I inherited, there was always going to be some difficult results along the way. I don't think you're going to go from winning 2 games all season at that point. I think 2 games with 7 games to go, winning 3 or 4 or 5. You know, it would have been wishful thinking, but it just wasn't going to happen. So I knew there was going to be a bit of choppy water in maybe 1 or 2 of the games. But I think overall, you know, I think the supporters can see that we've done our best, you know, in what's been quite extreme circumstances contextually. And I think they could absolutely see that today. You know, we were desperate to give them something to go on the summer break with in terms of a point. We couldn't quite achieve it in the end, but the solace in it for me was that we fought, you know, and we had our moments too against top side, and we can see the changes, you know, that these teams can make. So I think we can be really optimistic about what's next as a whole football club.
How big lift is giving you the players? Because obviously, you've said you give the supporters that bit effort. I was in town yesterday, and even today before the game, there's so much optimism and excitement from fans. People
Good.
are looking forward to coming in.
Yeah, good. You know, it's listen, I can't lie. It's lovely to hear that they're looking forward to that. You know, it's been a challenging 7 weeks, and it's really nice to hear that, because it makes me feel like that some of the work that I've gone after has kept that alive, and that was important to me, that we worked with high standards, that we removed the points record, that we gave some young player debuts, and that we were competitive in every game against, you know, Man City, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Fulham. You know, these are good teams for the level, and it was important that, you know, I set the team up in a way that we've seen some of the results this year. They've been tough, and I didn't want that for the players, and I didn't want that for the supporters. And I think overall, you know, it's nice to hear that, because I think largely the objectives that I were given to a certain respect have been achieved. Cheers.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers, guys. No, got a nice one. Cheers.
Good luck with the doors, mate.
I feel all right. Thank you.